All right, here we are.
Hey,
Dave
David.
Mandica here. I'm with Chris Morrison. Chris, how you doing today?
Good to be back with you as always. And it's a beautiful Friday.
That's right. We're not talking about why product managers must learn how to sell, but that tagline there is important. We're going to teach them what they have to be thinking about when they're selling. And today we're talking about no more free pilots. Why your free trial is killing your startup. We're going to be throwing out the sell now framework, but here's a little snapshot. Free pilots feel safe. They're not. Every week, founders hand over their technology for free, hoping that if someone tries it, they'll eventually buy. But free pilots don't prove demand. They hide it. They track the wrong users. Interesting. Waste your most valuable resource, time, and give investors zero confidence that anyone will actually pay. Gives investors zero confidence. That's an interesting statement. Well written, Mr. Chris. I like that. So we are going to jump right into this and frame this up. So, Chris.
David.
So set this up for us. What's the core problem? The core problem with free pilots. Why should a founder who's just trying to get traction care about this?
Yeah, I think you hit it with kind of the lead in. So the core problem is to many founders, they do free pilots and they feel like they're making progress. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times that gives them a false signal. And while they're doing them, they're burning runway, the time of their team, their capital, and at the end of a pilot, unless they're structured, and we'll talk a lot about that today, what you're left with is a testimonial or maybe a lukewarm, well, we'll think about it. How many times have we heard that in the sales discussion?
Oh, yeah, we'll think about it. Yes, indeed. And we'll think about it.
And the most important thing is they haven't learned anything about the market's willingness to pay.
So you're going to be hammering home on that subject, and it's good to repeat it multiple times. So,
and the other thing I'll add, just before you jump on,
go for it.
Investors know all of this.
Yes.
So the people that you're trying to court, if you're raising money, which almost all the startups we work with are, investors know this.
They're just thinking, as you babble on and on about the product, they're thinking, what's the TAM? How are they going to track the TAM? How are they going to get to those people? Is the TAM going to give us money? Are they going to get money from the TAM?
And ultimately, what they're tracking towards is scaling revenue, because that's what they exit on, right? A multiple of revenue, and a quickly scaling revenue gives them a higher multiple. That's the only thing they're actually looking for at the end of the day.
So let's start with the philosophy. You say the primary goal is market success, not product market fit, not happy users, not a great NPS score, market success. What does that actually mean to you?
So couple things. One is market success means you have paying customers, kind of what we're here to talk about today. But the other thing, if you go beyond that, not just paying customers, but you have a repeatable process to get more of them. And then ultimately, once you get the repeatable process, then what you have a business that is potentially sustainable in and of itself. So that's what I consider market success. Everything else, the technology, the design, the features, all that is to service that, getting to a repeatable sales process with customers and a sustainable success. As we said out of the gate, a successful business.
So now the questions come to poke the holes. But isn't getting people to use your technology, even for free, a way to prove that that pain exists? Isn't adoption a signal?
So, that's a good one, Dave. So that depends on the signal you're seeking for, right? Usage is not a purchase signal. And as we talked about purchase, at the end of the day, that's what investors look at. So free pilots may attract buyers. They may, but you don't know. A lot of times they're going to attract what I refer to as curiosity labs. Organizations or people within organizations that are intellectually interested, but they may not have budget authority. There's certainly no urgency wrapped into a free pilot. And at the end of the day, there's no accountability that if they adopt or not. So
Tire kickers too.
yeah, that's a great term. Well, yeah, exactly. That's kind of, yes, tire kickers.
I like your term better because it's more highbrow, but in the old sales world, for me,
Yep.
it was like get rid of tire kickers as fast as you can because they're annoying as heck.
So that's the sales pipeline. But I think when we
Jargon,
get
yeah.
pilots, these pilots are even they're even more costly to you than having tire kickers in your pipeline.
So now we're going to get to a little bit of an ethical obligation. This is kind of funny, but not funny in a bad way, but funny in processing it. I want to push back a little here, brother, on behalf of the founders, our founders who are listening and watching, right?
Yep.
They might say, my product isn't ready. How can I charge for something that doesn't work? How would you answer that?
So I would say, yes, that's exactly why you should be selling. So, and one of the things that, this is not talking about deceiving or pretending you have something that's ready for commercial readiness. So, and it's kind of what I refer to in this thing that, I call discovery selling is the stage you're at here now. And there's a huge difference from selling and what we're talking about doing it now. So, for instance, one of the things, we might, if you might say something that comes like, listen, we have a prototype. It does X, Y, and Z at this point in time. We're still 6 months from being production ready or having the commercial ready product, but we're looking for a handful of partners that are that we want to get the product in their hands at a reduced rate in exchange for their early engagement and feedback. Now that type of, you can approach someone with a product like that, and now you're being completely, transparent about what's going on. And frankly, it's about the most valuable thing you can do for, in the development of your product and your company. But the most important thing that you're starting to tease into here, Dave, is what you're finding out whether there's a problem you're addressing that is worth your customers paying you to solve. And that's the fundamental questions that all founders have to start answering as early as possible.
So Rick presents that question to us. So how do you convince early on to pay for a pilot? And so I put one of my favorite things to do here is the high impact, high value, high touch. You have a lot of influence. You're paying, you're using, you're participating. You can influence, you can adjust, you can pivot. There's a lot you can do. Now that's me on the product side. You on this disruptive model side, what would you say to that?
A couple things. One is, first of all, you're not convincing at this stage. And this is one of the things that's very different about what I told about discovery selling versus
good point.
Scale. Every bit of data at this point is valuable. So what the customers, why they won't buy is just as important as why they will buy, what they push back on. So I'm not convincing at this stage. I'm presenting the problem I'm addressing. I'm presenting what the solution we have to that, and then I'm getting feedback. Then I'm at that stage.
So if like a free pilot doesn't tell you whether they would actually buy, so a free pilot is a false positive, really, when you think about it.
Yes, exactly. So
a great point back to my point, Chris. I took it from a salesperson. You took it from agile market entry. You're saying, why? I'm not going to convince you. I'm selling this based on the merit that the product is, so you can get early in, so you can use it.
Yep.
Is it valuable enough to you to pay for it? If it isn't, then you got to ask why, and you process that information.
And if you do these discovery sales conversations well, the customers will pull them towards you. They'll tell you who wants to be in, and they'll tell you who wants to be out. And if you find that nobody wants to be in, then either a couple things are happening. Either you haven't found the problem that's worth them paying you to solve at that point. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that the failure point that most companies have. Or you're talking to the wrong market, or you haven't found.
And I always call this in my product management side, not the disruptive side like you, but my product management side. I always call this need to know versus nice to know. I mean, you got to process that, because anybody will have a nice to know for free, but the nice to know, they're not going to put their cash down. They got to have it. And my world's the knowledge world, so
that's what you're looking for. You got to, early on. This is a sales process. You're trying to sell people, but you're not trying to convince people, because you're trying to learn whether you have a nice to know or a need to know, and the market will tell you that. Same thing around pricing. I don't, the market will tell you what the price would be. So but let's keep it. But that in answer to Rick's question, this is not at this stage in discovery selling. You're not convincing people. You're looking to see if they're going to pull you towards them because the problem you're looking to solve is a problem they really want to address.
So you work with a company called Diagnostic Biochips, and you'll be hearing this called DBC.
Yep.
That actually did this. So before we get into the full story, give us the one sentence version of why their experience is a perfect example of this.
So when I started working with DBC, which is probably going back about 2 years ago, they had a prototype for a neuroscience research tool. No commercial product. They had limited cash, but they were engaging with their Series A investors, and they were looking for proof of real demand. Right. So we went out and we did 30 customer interviews and found that the obvious market wasn't ready to buy, or the market that they thought they wanted to get into wasn't ready to buy. So we pivoted to a niche that we hadn't really considered going into discovery. And then coming out of that, we started to sell into that niche. We were pre-product. Mm-hmm. We were before general availability. And through that, we generated $2.6 million in the revenue. We still don't have a commercial product, and we're slated to launch it late in the early Q2 of this year. That's what discovery selling looks like when it's done right.
So we're going to get to data quality here. So you talk a lot about data quality. I've certainly heard that. And in the context of market intelligence, that a phrase I associate with analytics, not sales.
Yep.
What do you mean?
So every startup makes every decision a startup makes, whether it's the market entry point, what to buy next, what to build next, their pricing strategy and the pricing, their market made. It's only as good as the information that's based on, right? And for most startups, making those decisions is mostly based on bad information, or in other words, it's based on assumptions, not on real data.
A lot of assumptions.
What's that?
A lot of assumptions.
A lot of assumptions. So when I think about market intelligence, I think of it as a quality ladder, and most founders are operating at the lower rungs of the ladder from a
All right, do you want to talk about the ladder?
Sure,
go for it.
So I think of it as three levels, right? And you can think of this as a continuum, but at the very bottom is secondary market research, analysts reports, TAM estimates, industry data. And this is by far the lowest quality, but some founders stop there. I see a lot in pitch decks.
Oh, yes, they do. Yep.
It's aggregated data. It's extremely lagging data.
Yep.
And it tells you nothing about whether a specific customer is willing to pay to buy your product today. So there's some high level context where it's useful, but in decision making, it's useless. Now the next level or level 2 is customer discovery, or what customers say. And in my mindset, I consider this medium fidelity. It's the discovery interviews. They do reveal real problems, and that's where you first explore the problems and the state of the tent. But they're dramatically better than secondary market research. I mean, dramatically. I mean, when people started doing customer, it was a paradigm shift in the level of quality. But at this stage, people are playing, and it doesn't give you anything about commitment. As a side note, letters of intent, which I see all the time with grants, that fall into this arena.
Yeah.
The third level is what I call sales quality data, and that's what customers actually do. And this is by far the highest fidelity: a purchase order, a paid pilot, a co-development agreement, anything that's financial or contractual commitment. And by the way, this is the data that will get investors to sit up in their chairs and start paying.
Oh God, yes! Imagine that. We did these 100 discovery calls. We got these pilot sales done.
Yep.
This is what we learned when they said no. So I always love this question. I want to hear your answer for it.
Yep.
That distinction between what people say and what they do, right? And I have to debate this with people all the time. Just because you have a customer doesn't mean that customer bought for a certain reason and that customer is going to continue to buy.
Yep.
To me, that's not new. Why do so many founders still get tripped up by it?
So as I said, this shift that mainly was led by Steve Blank and customer discovery, or that's when it became popular. Customer discovery clearly has genuine value. I'm an I-Core instructor. All my clients, I start with customer discovery. It's the right place. But one of the things I see founders do all the time is they mistake it for validation.
Yep.
Someone says to them, "Oh yes, we definitely have that problem that you're talking about, and man, if we had a solution to that, we would pay for it." So, and then founder hears that 2-3 times, and now they think they've proven demand.
I've got something. Oh my God, this is gonna work. I'm fired up.
Yep. But here's the
challenge. Get fired up till you get that sale, brother.
The moment you ask them to pay for something, the answer to those questions will change. So,
yep.
So I might talk with founders and say, listen, discovery interviews are brilliant. You have to do them, but they're only a step to having the pricing and the sales conversation, which is where you have to get as quickly as possible.
So now let's pivot to the repeatable sales process, part of Sell Now. I mean, that's the goal, right? So we're going to talk about that. So and beyond the sale, so beyond that first sale, you're always pointing towards something you call the repeatable sales process, RSP.
Yep.
What is that and why does it matter?
So the repeatable sales process is, first of all, a couple things. One is that's what every professional sales team uses to sell. They have a process in place, and basically you hire a sales rep to repeat that process, and that's what they're
most professional VP of sales, that's what they bring. They bring their repeatable sales process, their team, their recruitment methods, their compensation methods, their territory management methods, their CRM, the scripting, all that.
But when you drive that down to the sales rep, it's the lead generation, qualification,
hamster wheel, baby, hamster wheel.
Exactly. So that's but from a startup standpoint, repeatable sales is the ultimate level of sales quality data. So it's just not one customer. It's when you find that repeatable motion. Who's going to buy, why they're going to buy, what they'll pay, how you find them, lead generation, the sales cycle, the objections, all that stuff. That's what you have to have to scale a business or scale the sales, and that's what the sales team needs to do their job. That's the whole of the Sell Now method and the Agile Market Entry Sales Framework. That's the North Star, getting to the repeatable sales process, because that's what you need to get to scalability and profitability.
And you can certainly learn about that if you get digging into some coaching and some training from you. So let's talk about DBC. How did DBC apply this data quality thinking and practice? What happened in the real world?
So when I started, DBC, they started with level 1. They had some data, and quasi level 2. They had a marquee customer from Merck, and they thought, based on the information they had, they gave me their secondary market research. They thought that biopharma was their market, and that's what we try to do. So immediately when I came into it, I said, okay, let's prove that out. Let's go get some level 2 data. Let's start doing some customer discovery. And we actually conducted 30 plus systematic customer discovery interviews into pharma, biotech, and CROs. Now, this is like good news, bad news. They had a very sobering outcome. They found out that the biopharma market wasn't ready. It was, Merck was a true outlier. It's what Everett Rogers would call an innovator, right? And that market, and it's true, it was still years away. But the other thing that data told us is, and one of the outcomes from that is that by using that level 2 data alone, that saved DBC hundreds, if not millions of dollars going down the wrong market development.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, so much. We talk about this all the time. So much seed money and A-round money have been burnt on horrible marketing and repeatable sales processes done way, way too early.
So, absolutely. That's the biggest mistake that startups make, is they scale too early, and they scale two things: their product development, But the more costly thing is not it's the market and sales effort. They scale it before they have a repeatable.
They scale it before they have it.
And
all right, now we're good. Let's go ahead, finish up.
So, but what we found out from that secondary market, from that customer discovery, was another market, what we called translational research labs. It was a much smaller market, actually pretty much a micro market, but they were ready to adopt. And then we went right into the level 3 data, which is then we started converting pilot sites, and we actually converted 3 of their early free pilot sites into paid engagements. So we went right into level 3 level data, started charging them, getting pricing feedback. And now we've actually gotten to this stage where now we're starting to scale the demand generation. So we've gone to our first meeting. We're now only selling paid pilots. We don't do any, we do no free pay. We're still 4 or 5 months from having a product, but we're also, with the people that aren't ready for the free pilots, we're building our sales pipeline for when we launch. So now we're kind of giving ourselves a running start into the product launch, which will be sometime in Q2.
But looks like you found the product market fit. Now you're just getting ready to build the repeatable.
At least on the first market. And remember, that's a small market. So we found the product market fit on the first market. As a side note, David, now I'm moving on to another project. We're going back to pharma and trying to see if, and retesting, doing customers, going back to level 2 data
are they ready yet?
Pharma market to see if things have changed and see if they're ready yet. Exactly.
Interesting.
But that's the ladder in action with DBC.
Wonderful. So let's now move to the sales first mindset. So
yes,
the philosophy is this: always try to sell first. What does that actually look like in practice? And you've talked about this a little bit, but just kind of, tighten up some of your thoughts here.
So again, it starts with the mindset. So most founders are going to the early conversations with the goal of getting customers to try the product. And that's where the mindset starts shift. The goal has to be the goal I have in every moment of every point I'm with any of my clients is how close can I get to a sale right now, today, because I'm always driving to that level 3 sales level quality data. That's the gold standard. So if possible, get that commitment to purchase. If not, then back off and figure out where how close you get to that, like we did with diagnostic biochips, and now we're, as I said to you, now, we moved one market into level 3 data. We're now going back and doing the level 2 data to see if we can move that market into level 1 data or sales level data.
Or if it's ready to be, or if it's ready to be moved into that.
But the mindset, yes, or are they ready? We don't know. They may not be. We may back off again. But we'll, if we get some signal from the customer discovery, then we'll start pushing it to pay. See if we can do pilots see if we can do pilots and get them to pay us to do that work.
So here's the question I think most of the founders have in the back of their minds is, how do you set these expectations without scaring the prospect away before even you start a relationship?
Yeah. So I think one of the things we talked about, you can see in the conversations, is this transparency piece to it. And I think that's critical. When I'm doing this with clients, I pretty much open my kimono type of thing. I tell them exactly where we are, and let them choose where they want to step in. So if you're an early adopter or innovator, you may want to step in early. Those people want to step in early and have access.
Yep.
If you're an early majority or beyond, they don't. So I'm not convincing them. I'm telling them where I am. I'm giving them choices and letting them choose where they want to fit in our development pipeline. And as I said, that's what we've done with diagnostic biochips. We have some companies that were, like the Mercks of the world, and some of these sites we work with that are willing to pay and they want to get in deep with this, but we have other ones that want to wait till we have a commercial product. So it might be something like when I'm talking to not scare them off, I say, hey, listen, we're building this early adopters program and we're looking for 4 or 5, early partners, collaborators that are willing to, pay to engage, but it'll be at a much discounted price. And here's what we're thinking.
So tell me more about this early adopter program that you have. What are the elements? How did that work? How does that work?
So basically, this is what we did with diagnostic biochips. They were doing free pilots. It's actually a structured, paid engagement where you set the mutual, and it's mutually beneficial. Each party gets what they want out of it. Typically for the customers, they get a highly reduced rate. They get early access. And remember, as we talked earlier, for your innovators and early adopters, they want early access. That's their personality type. And then, then the company gets other things in exchange. So one is they get paid. So we get evidence of the real market demand from a economic standpoint. But I also ask for lots of other things in that engagement. I'll ask for being referrals. I'll ask them to participate in writing papers. Innovators and early adopters love that because part of is the prestige of being first. I'll ask them to have access to their teams to get feedback. I'll ask them to participate in product development discussions like next generation stuff. So there would be all that, but fundamentally, it's not a free flow, free pilot. It's a very structured engagement and paid engagement where everybody understands.
But you have that plan. You build an early adopter plan to help facilitate the pay pilot. So
what we did when I walked into Docs and Biochips, they were doing free pilots, and basically there was no agreements at all. One of the very first things we did after we did the customer discovery, and we're trying to reach out to those translational researchers, is we put together an early adopter program that we share with those accounts and told them, it was a written up document. We shared with them. We sat down and discussed it with them. And the ones that wanted to participate could, the ones that did chose not to. Simple as that.
So let's move to pricing, playbook, structure. So I love this question. The thing most founders are terrified of, it's that pricing conversation.
Yes.
They don't know what to charge. They don't know how to ask. What's your practical advice around this pricing question issue?
So, I think the first thing I would say about that is have the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Around the pricing. The second thing I would say is, the thing about having the pricing conversation, that's what price isn't the revenue you get is not the important thing. The important thing is what you learn from having the conversation. Do they push back? Do they not push back? A lot of I've done these where they don't push back, and I find out my pricing was too low. So my thing around the pricing is have the conversation, but again, be upfront about it. With early adopt programs, it's pretty simple. A lot of times, what I'll lead in with is, hey, listen, our list price on this product is $100,000. For the early adopter program, we're coming in at $60,000. And when we get the commercial product out, you get the upgrade to it. So I just they tend to be very frank discussions. Again, from the context of having that conversation, when I'm not trying to convince them and I'm trying to give them options and choices, it makes it a much, much easier conversation to have from that contextual mindset.
All right. So one last question before we start getting a couple rapid fires. I think we can fit those in, which are kind of fun. Somebody watching this right now with a free pilot in flight, they're doing their free pilot. What's the one thing they should do this week?
Good question. So I think the first thing is to have the conversation. So as I said, pick up the phone, get in the meeting with that customer and have the conversation. I would structure the early adopter program and maybe go in with a piece of paper with me as well. And I would say hey, listen, this has been a great relationship. We love working with you. We definitely want to continue working with you. We're coming out with an early adopter program. We're only going to, it's going to be for a small number of companies we want to work with. We'd love to have you participate in it. Here's what it looks like. Here's the pricing of it. Here's the relationship. Is it something that you're interested in? And let them choose. Here's the really great thing about that guy is all you've done is free pilots up to that point in time. Just having that conversation will be hugely beneficial about you moving forward to the progression of having a successful company. Whether if they say yes, you now have a customer, and you can now start having the pricing conversation and the economic value conversation with them. If they say no, you don't have a customer, that's just as valuable, and you can have the pricing economic value conversation with them. Either way, it's a win, right?
So last comment here. If someone has to remember only 3 things from today, what are the 3 things you want them to remember?
So early selling, what I call discovery selling, it's research. Every time you ask a customer to commit to a payment, you're learning something true about your market. And free pilots hide that truth, whether it is so, and paid ones reveal it. So that's number one.
Yep.
Pay. And the other thing I'll say about that, the first time you ask a customer to pay you for what you have is the first time you get real data about your market. That's the first real data point.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is data quality is a competitive advantage. So for companies, move from secondary market research to discovery to sales quality data as quickly, as fast as I can. That's that mindset shift I talk about that I'm operating with it every day. The company that has the best market intelligence wins. That's kind of bottom line. And the third thing is structure every engagement, even the free ones. If you do a free one, set it up so it's moving to a purchase agreement. That's set up to move to a purchase agreement, set up success metrics, set up timelines, but structure those agreements. Just don't do free pilots. So if there's no
don't do free pilots.
That's kind of I never do free pilots. Sometimes I do pilots where they don't pay me revenue, but I'm always getting something in compensation return, and it's always in some sort of formal, semi-formal agreement that I have with them. Never.
Last but not least, where can people find you?
The easiest way is to reach out to me through LinkedIn. Just you can, if you send me a message, DM me. We can have this conversation about, especially if you're have a product in the marketplace, you're doing free pilots, or you're about ready to start putting in the marketplace, and you want to figure out how to structure paid pilots or your early adopters program. Those are the conversations I love to have. Reach out to me through LinkedIn. On my LinkedIn header, you can actually set up a 30-minute call with me if you want to as well.
Yep. Product managers must learn how to sell because they can't give out free pilots. Chris, thank you so much for your time.
Dave, it's been wonderful as usual.
Peace.